let's start with a confession. Planners have a reputation for being all about productivity and checklists and get it done energy. But what if I told you that planning and creativity aren't enemies? That structure can fuel spontaneity. It's true. In fact, research shows that constraints like deadlines and frameworks often boost creativity. And they do this by focusing our thinking, by forcing us to generate options within boundaries. Your planner, when used thoughtfully, provides just the right kind of constraint. A gentle nudge to show up, to play, to experiment. All right, but how does that translate into real life? Picture this, okay? You're a writer. It's a Monday morning. You're looking at your daily page, and somewhere between grocery pickup and doctor's appointment, you have penciled in creative project. This is where the magic begins. Instead of letting creative project linger like some vague promise that past you made to your current you self, you use planning to give it shape. Each week, carve out dedicated creative windows, not in the nebulous someday parking lot, but in the right here and the right now. Research shows that even small daily time slots that you dedicate to creative work can dramatically increase both the quantity and the quality of output. And it doesn't require hours of focused time. Sometimes just 15-minute creative bursts can be enough to cause a spark inside of you. Of course, locking time into your planner is just part of the process. Step 2 is deciding what to actually do in that window. And this is where your planner becomes a creative roadmap. Let's say you're a painter or even a doodler. In your weekly spread, instead of just writing the word paint, try putting down an actual prompt. Something simple like paint an animal that's blue and has 2 tails. I don't know, I'm not an artist. Or maybe doodle a door that leads to somewhere unexpected. These little prompts, scheduled right in with your appointments, become creative mini challenges. They slot directly into your day, which removes the mental friction of deciding when and what to create. And because the prompts came from you, even if you just used a prompt generator online to find it, they already resonate in your pretty little head. Or what if you're a writer? Well, the same thing applies. Schedule a flash fiction sprint. Write 100 words about the worst thing that could happen to your character. Or create dialogue between 2 side characters. And suddenly your planner isn't just a calendar. It's a treasure map of possibilities. Let's dig just a little bit deeper into the psychology, because if you've been around for any amount of time, you know that I love to nerd out about this stuff. Creative slumps often arise from 2 main culprits: lack of inspiration and fear. You're staring at a blank page and you start freaking out that anything you create today has to be a masterpiece. So of course you freeze. The antidote to that? Lower the stakes with these little micro tasks spread throughout your planner. Instead of write chapter 7, break it down into write 50 words about the room that they're in, or list 5 adjectives that describe your character's shoes. These micro prompts, when woven into your daily planner, help you sidestep that terror of I must create something perfect, replacing it with I'm just playing with words. Okay, and how do you incorporate this into your actual planner spread? Let's walk through a hypothetical week. On Monday, in the margin next to your morning meeting, you note, sketch out a dream that you had. On Wednesday, underneath go to the gym, add in brainstorm blog post titles. By the end of the week, you've collected a treasure trove of raw material, all right there in your planner margins. Snippets, sketches, word scraps, all ready to assemble into a larger project. Your planner has become a sketchbook of ideas, breaking your creativity down into small, actionable steps. But what about the days that you don't really feel it, when your creative tank is just empty? That's where energy-aware creative planning comes in. Just like you wouldn't try to write a complicated work manual on 2 hours of sleep, you can plan lighter creative tasks on those low-energy days. Maybe that means just revisiting a mood board, organizing your paints and your markers, or brainstorming future projects in a brain dump format. That way you're still in touch with your creative self every day, but you're not actually demanding full-on creativity. I have a very tired dog yawning at my feet. Your planner can also help you track patterns in your creative energy. Over time, you'll recognize when you're most creative during the day. Maybe your imagination soars in the afternoon or on the weekends. Or for some people, it's first thing in the morning. Use your planner's monthly overview to chart your creativity highs and lows. Then you know to schedule peak creativity during those high creativity times instead of continuing to try to force it into whenever you have free time. You'll begin to cultivate a rhythm instead of constantly trying to wrestle with randomness. And don't forget the invisible tasks like procrastination research. I'm not the only person who does this. Or if you're an artist, reading things about color theory. They absolutely count as creative work, especially when you log it into your planner as recognition of the full scope of what creativity entails. Now let's take a minute to talk about actual creative blocks. When you flip through your planner and you see that you've missed a few of the creativity windows that you'd scheduled in, it's super easy to spiral into guilt and just abandon the process altogether. But what if instead of shame, you built in reset rituals? When you miss a creative time, schedule a creative reboot prompt, do a walking meditation, listen to your favorite playlist, reread an inspiring quote, or just flip to a past win that you had that will remind you that it's not always dark. Writing the words creativity reboot next to your scheduled tasks gives you permission to pause and reset rather than trying to push through the block with brute force. Because when has that ever worked? Muses don't like that. Before we move on, let's talk about large-scale creative goals. If you're aiming to finish a novel or create a massive art installation, your planner can help you break down those mountains into itty-bitty molehills. Don't write things like write a novel. Break those down into micro milestones. Outline chapter 3. Draft 500 words. Edit one scene. Make notes on cover design concepts. Each of these little things fit nicely between your appointments and your tasks, giving you not only a roadmap, but also a sense of accomplishment as you start checking these things off. Studies on goal setting show that marking small wins along the way sustains motivation longer than waiting for the final finish line. Now, you might be wondering, isn't this going to mess up the aesthetic of my planner? Yep, it is. Your planner is going to get messy if you implement this into your system. You're going to have doodles in the margins. You're going to have question marks next to prompts when you weren't able to fulfill them. You're going to have chicken scratch notes about character shoes. And that's okay. Embrace the mess. Allow your planner to become a living thing, a monument to your creativity, to your commitment to letting your muse flourish. The beauty of planning your creativity is in its lived-in look. It's the evidence of your curiosity. It's your willingness to play. That is where the muse shows up, in the margins, in the mess. All right, you have stocked your planner with prompts. You've mapped your creative energy, you've built in your resets, and you've broken your goals into bite-sized tasks. So now let's level up with just a few final hacks that make your planner into a full-blown creativity incubator. First, try tapping into seasonal spreads. Creativity truly can wax and wane with the seasons. Maybe you're a spring brainstormer, but a fall editor, or vice versa. Dedicate a page at the start of every season to mood words and color swatches, theme ideas, and maybe even seasonal challenges. In the spring, maybe your theme is fresh starts. In the winter, maybe it's cozy writing by candlelight. When you open that spread and you see your seasonal vision, you anchor your creativity into something bigger. You're not just chasing the next deadline. You're not forcing inspiration. You're inviting it in with open arms. So far, we've really focused on the solo creativity in our planners, but there is value in collaborative prompts. On a weekly page, pencil in a creativity share box, an invitation to trade ideas with a friend, or to post that sketch in a community forum. Write in something like, email Sophia that writing prompt, or don't forget to comment on Linda's latest poem. These small prompts inject more of that social accountability and gives you fresh perspective into your own process. Science shows that external feedback can spark new angles you might not have seen on your own. Just be careful with whose feedback you are allowing into your space, because not all feedback is created equal. And we cannot escape this topic without touching on the biggest hurdle that we all trip over. What about perfectionism? Listen, we have all experienced the dread of a blank page. When our inner critics snarl at us, this is going to be terrible anyway, so why are you even trying? This is where you're going to implement a fail forward section in your planner. Dedicate a corner of your page or a full page or a whole ass section to your creative fails. And every time you try something that flops, write it down. But the trick is, right next to that, you are going to put down a lesson you learned from that failure. By giving your failures a space and a note of progress, you reframe it as just information, not an indictment. You're turning your mistakes into stepping stones. Plus, that section becomes like a badge of courage. It's proof that you showed up in spite of your fear, in spite of your doubts, in spite of your creativity blocks. Through all of this, please remember to celebrate, because once your planner becomes just a log of everything you didn't do, it turns itself into a daily guilt trip. So start peppering in rewards, star stickers, notes that say well done, big ass check marks. Feed the dopamine gremlin, because rewarding yourself keeps the creativity process joyful and sustainable. Thank you so much for hanging out with me today. I hope that this video resonated with you. I hope that you got something useful out of it. I know that we have a lot of creatives here, and it can be difficult to combine the desire for productivity and hustle with the slow, beautiful parts of creativity that feed our soul. And there is a way to combine these things so that you are being productive in a beautiful way. You just have to stop being so precious about your planner. Don't forget to smash all those YouTube buttons for me and leave me a comment below and let me know what your favorite creative passion is. Everyone already knows that I am an author and writing is my biggest passion. And, it's just one of those things that I've always wanted to do with my life, and I have found a way to make it happen, and I will continue to show up for it, no matter how ugly, no matter how messy, no matter how hard. The muse and I have a complicated relationship, but it is our relationship, and I love it. And I love you too. So I will see you next time. Bye.